Greetings and welcome to the Daily Devo for the last day in August of this year, Thursday, the 31st of August today. Our devotion is Jesus' ministry in Capernaum. Matthew 8, Mark 1, Luke 4 are all cited here. I'll put the references in when we post it. The verse that's mentioned or quoted here is Mark 1:22. The people were amazed at his teaching, because he taught them as one who had authority, not as the teachers of the law. Jesus' teaching here is going to accomplish two things. Number one, it's going to basically establish his credentials as a Jewish teacher. And all while that's happening, it's also going to fulfill prophecy, Old Testament prophecy about the Messiah. So it's rich. Capernaum is one of my favorite places to sit and reflect, our author says. Here it is easier to imagine rubbing shoulders with Jesus as I sit in the pleasant church compound beside the Sea of Galilee. I'm ready to hop on a plane and go right now. I suspect that is because we can be confident that we are precisely in the places Jesus was. The gospel writers mention two specific locations in Capernaum that archaeology has certified. The first is the home of Peter, Matthew 8:14. Peter and his extended family shared a living compound in Capernaum. This was where Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law, who was suffering from a severe fever, and where he likely spent the night while he stayed in town. Late in the first century AD, this house became a house church linked to Peter by the graffiti scribed in the walls by its first visitors. Ever since that time, a church building has hovered above the spot. The second location mentioned is the synagogue. A synagogue was a public building used by the Jews for education and worship. In Capernaum today, the remains of a 4th or 5th century AD synagogue reside over the foundation of the very building visited by Jesus, Mark 1:21. The Gospels focus on two things here, two things that Jesus did here. The first is his teaching. The locals noted that he spoke as one with authority. To understand what they mean by that, we need to know something about the way Jewish teachers of this era were credentialed. A student typically engaged in a multi-year course of study, mastering the methods for interpreting the Bible and the traditional interpretations handed down by the teachers of the law. Only after demonstrating that mastery was someone authorized to teach. Jesus was the exception. When he taught, his listeners celebrated the lessons, noting that they were even better than the teaching of those credentialed in the usual way, Mark 1:22, verse 27. The Gospels also call attention to the healing miracles of Jesus. He entered a world unlike the one he had created, a world where sickness and demonic possession damaged the lives of families. So, Jesus repeatedly used his unique power to restore those who were ill, those who were demon-possessed. In doing so, he not only validated the authority of his teaching, but also fulfilled Old Testament prophecy about the Messiah, Matthew 8:17. So there's something meaningful in all of Jesus's moves, in all of Jesus's teachings, in all of Jesus's miracles. Everything he did had a purpose, a fulfillment to happen, truth to share. Everything. I'm just rolling around in my head. Sorry for the uncomfortable pause, but I'm just thinking in my own head now, how much of my life is lived with that kind of purpose? Sure, I'm a pastor, so that just goes with the territory, but I'm not moving around all the time like Jesus did. I'm not going from this town to that town to that town. I'm not on, as we would say, 24/7. Doesn't seem to matter what Jesus is doing. He goes to Peter's house as a visitor. Got to heal the mother-in-law. He travels somewhere, and along the way, he meets lepers. He meets people asking for help. It's constant. And everything he does has a purpose. And everything he does has a meaning. That's an incredible example to follow, is it not? That is, that's not easy for us to be on 24/7. And yet we've got to be prepared. We've got to be ready. Not that we're going to be doing things 24/7 like Jesus is doing, but we need to understand that we're not our own. We've been bought with a price. And therefore, we are to glorify God in our body. We're to glorify God in our living, our lives, our choices, so that we're ready. We're prepared for that person who comes to us in need, for that person who needs some help understanding some truth about the Bible, and that we might be confident in it. That we might be confident in it ourselves. Blessings to you today. And let's realize that every last one of us who are followers of Jesus have a ministry. There's something he wants us to be doing. And we've got to have our ears open to hear what he might say to us. Blessings to you today.